All right, and welcome back to Logan Simmons Photography. Great to have you here, and today I want to talk about a new piece of equipment, which we don't do a whole lot here on the channel, but I thought it's important because it's a relatively affordable item. It's an item that most people have, and that is a phone. In this case, it is the iPhone SE, the latest version here for 2020. And since, of course, this is a photography channel, we're going to talk about, in this case anyway, landscape photography. Can you use this basic iPhone? I think it starts at $399 US. Is it good enough for landscape photography? But before we get into it, make sure you hit the like button there on the video and subscribe to the channel or follow us on Facebook, because it helps us out a lot and alerts you when something's new and helps us out and grow the followers and all of that there. So much appreciated. But let's go ahead and get in it here. This is the iPhone SE. It looks very much like the iPhone 8, the iPhone 7, the iPhone 6. This is the basic new iPhone, but it does have some changes specifically related to the photography in it. Well, before I say, I'll say it does actually have the same image sensor, same lens as the iPhone 8. But the big difference here is it's using the new neural engine, the new processor from the latest iPhone 11 and the 11 Pro. And what that basically allows this camera to do is it's going to be taking multiple images, unless you disable this, multiple images at the same time when you take one picture, and it combines them together, uses high dynamic range imaging so you can see all the highlights, all the midtones, all the shadows all at once, and it makes a much more pleasing image. And it also helps eliminate some of those artifacts and things like that you sometimes see in those JPEG images from cell phones and your cameras. So let's go ahead and dig into it here. I want to I'm going to show you some images here I've taken. This particular one is not necessarily the most beautiful photograph in the world, but I want to bring this up because it shows a couple of things here. You notice there's highlights right here, and of course you do have some shadows right here. As we zoom in to 100%, and this should be the full resolution preview here in Adobe Bridge, you can still see detail there in the cloud. You can see there's a blue sky. You come over here, you can still see some detail in the leaves, and there really isn't that much in the way of any noise or anything like that, because even in the past, a lot of cell phones, they would have noise even in daylight photographs, and this has been a really big change here. Now, like I said, it's using that new Fusion processor there that's capturing all those images at once, but it's also using a relatively new image format, although I think iPhones have had it now for a few years. It's called HEIC, or HIAC. I'm not sure if you pronounce it like that, but that's the way it sounds to me. And basically, it uses the same amount of space as a JPEG image, which would have been the standard image format for iPhones and digital cameras going back years. But it can use the same amount of space but record twice as much color depth of those cameras. Typically, a JPEG image is 8-bit color, but this format supports 16-bit color. And what that means in layman's terms is you're going to get easier transitions, more smoother transitions between highlights and shadows, and get more detail in between there. So you're not going to have as much blown out or much, or as much really dark and undistinguishable there. So that's really what makes this thing really special. And I'm noticing big improvements even from the iPhone 8, which I have previously. Even though it uses that same image sensor, that is how important the software there is. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Now, let me show you some other things as well. I want to take a look at the macro feature as well. So here's a leaf and a little bug right there. Now, I do notice the camera did decide to focus right here. The bug is over here. But again, this is just all automatic. It's actually doing a very good job there. That's the way it came straight out of the camera. It's a sharp image. Again, I don't see that much in the way of image noise. There might be a little bit there, but it's not too bad. And this was a little bit overcast in this particular situation. And we can take a look again here. Here's another one. Again, that leaf is crisp. It's a good color, it's saturated, it's contrasty, but again, the detail is still there. So I think that's really special. Now, I do want to talk about a couple of little teeny tiny issues I did notice here with the camera. I had to take this picture a couple of times here, and I think it was fooled by that light back there from the river, and it kind of underexposed the foreground here, but it's still a reasonably good thing, reasonably good interpretation there of the scene. But I do see here, it's a little bit muddy there in the shadows, a little bit blurry. Now, to be fair, there probably was some movement going on here. That's not too bad there, but I did want to point that out. One other weird thing, and this is probably due to optics, so I like this picture, but if you look right in here, there's this very weird lens flare with this kind of aqua lens flare right here. I kind of had to move the camera around just a little bit to kind of eliminate that. So there must be kind of some weird elements into the lens that kind of caused that, but just something to be aware of, something to look out for. Nothing too bad there. I will show you, and then we'll get into some of the just the basic pictures that I took that I liked. This also does support now on the front and the back camera Apple's portrait mode. Now it only works with people. You can't use it on plants or pets or anything like that. But I'll show you the front camera here. Quick shot of me there. Did a pretty good job here of approximating what a much more expensive camera and a very fast lens might have produced with an out of focus background. Now I will say it's not perfect. I can see a little bit of imperfections here. It's, the software is basically having to draw a line here, not putting me out of focus, but put the background in focus. It does a decent job. In fact, I posted this to Instagram, and a lot of people seem to like it, but even though it's not perfect, so there you go, not too shabby. Also a little fun thing, and this is not landscape photography, but it does offer this crazy little mode where you can do this like black and white studio light thing, super high contrast, and that's really the way you should take the picture. I mean, because that's the best way it looks. A crazy person, because that's what it reminded me of there. So again, you see a little bit of cutting there, but hey, it's a fun picture, something to do. And then also, this does have a panoramic mode. Many iPhones have had that for many years, but again, I'm just amazed at the amount of quality you're getting right here. You do see a little bit of blown out highlights there, ever so slightly, but this is an iPhone sensor, but it's not too bad. And you could print this, maybe do a little bit of editing, and it's just so sharp. Maybe there's a tad bit of artifacting here, but again, not too bad. I really wonder if using raw processing is really necessary on the iPhone anymore, because for the past few versions, you could take a raw picture where it's kind of the raw bits of the image, not a JPEG, not compressed yet. I have found that in some cases the raw images with this phone are not as good as those HEIC files that it initially puts out. So, do your own test, but that's my interpretation. Because when you shoot the raw picture, you don't get that fusion artificial intelligence that the iPhone does automatically with the other kinds of images there. So let's kind of do a little bit of a photo expose here, and I'll take you through here. Again, here's kind of a low light scene here, very high contrast, but as you can see there, it did do a beautiful job of really balancing that color out. And again, very little JPEG artifacting and very little color fringing. I think I did have to remove a little bit of that in Adobe Camera Raw. And I should mention I did edit some of these in Adobe Camera Raw, but hey, I think that's fair game. Most of us have some kind of editing software. Why not use it with your iPhone images as well? So I'll just keep kind of going through here, and we'll show it. You can see how much detail there is here in these particular branches. This is a very complicated image. Again, very slightly overcast there, but you still have some beautiful color there that I think works quite nicely in that one. Love the composition. This one was kind of cool. You kind of have these layers and things like that. And that's kind of one advantage, too, of an iPhone. The image sensor in here is so small, and that causes the physics to really make the image. Basically, everything is in focus because the image sensor is so small. When you have a larger image sensor, it causes things to, if it's not directly in focus, it's going to be very much out of focus. Having a small image sensor there actually is a help in some instances. And of course, they have the portrait mode. Of course, only works with people, but that would help if you wanted that effect of a larger image sensor here. Another one of those kind of stage, different levels here in the image there. Again, super sharp. Look at the detail there in that leaf and the detail here in the leaves. These are just, again, these are not raw captures. These are maybe straight out of camera with a few edits in Adobe Camera Raw, so nothing that's not can't be done fairly easily. Here was that one we had that lens flare issue before, but again, I just moved that lens ever so slightly, so you can kind of tilt it around. It's a little bit difficult to do this, but you can also put your hand here and kind of block the sun if you can still reach the shutter button. So, again, it wasn't too much of a trouble, but we were able to go in there. Again, very sharp branch. Really worked quite nicely there. Also did some kind of black and white images. Now, I didn't shoot black and white in the camera, but I went ahead and did it after the fact and kind of softened it up here. And sometimes when you start to do this with an image and you start to bring out shadow detail, you'll get a lot of pixelation and noise. Really not so here with this image. So I think that worked out pretty nicely. I was pleased there with that one. And let's just kind of keep perusing along here. I may not go through all of them. Here's kind of a cool image here. A little bit, in the shadows. They're not super dark, but again, you still have that beautiful detail right there. Really works nicely. There might be a little bit of pixelation up here, but again, nothing too bad. Nothing you would notice unless you're looking at it very, very close on there. Let me see here. Let me show you some more black and whites. I think this one actually worked out really, really well. Again, these are not things you would notice were shot with an iPhone camera right here. Have these beautiful gray tones here that really popped out, almost like an old black and white film image, maybe with not as much noise, obviously, but pretty cool image there. Love that composition. And then let me show you some of these sepia ones as well. Did this one, again, did the sepia toning after the fact, although I'm sure you could get programs on your phone that would do this. I love that light there. We did a little bit of editing to kind of open this up a little bit, but again, it didn't introduce too much noise or anything like that. I actually kind of like how it's a little bit blown out over here. Kind of gives you that nice path there, to give you that impression you're walking there through the forest. And let me show you maybe a couple other ones here. Here's one that has tons of dynamic range. You have those bright highlights up there. You have the dark shadows here. I did accentuate it a little bit in Adobe Camera, but again, no noise or anything like that. Maybe a tad bit of pixelation back there, but again, not too bad. And I should point out, even when you're shooting in RAW with an iPhone, you're still going to get a little bit of noise just because it is such a small sensor, but we're getting a really long way. Again, look at that amount of dynamic range. There's obviously some blown out in the clouds, but that is bright white, but you do see a little bit of detail there. And this beautiful, beautiful little circle there with the windows showing through. Really was pleased with that image. Again, it's not good for an iPhone image. It's good as a photograph. That's what I would say there. And let's see. Let's begin with this one here. Actually started to increase the saturation in this one quite a bit and really made it pop. And I really think it worked in this image. We didn't really overdo it. And as I increase the saturation, the colors still hold up, the detail was still there. Maybe a little bit of color fringing up there, but nothing too shabby there. So there you go. So what's my verdict here of the iPhone SE? Is it just a cheap iPhone that kind of produces okay results? The answer is no. The camera in this one, I've not tested the iPhone 11 Pro, but I cannot imagine that the sensor on that camera could be much better than this. This is really excellent. It's a great value. I was coming from an iPhone 8. I just happened to have an upgrade available and thought, why not? It was a good price. Might as well get the latest technology. But I think this is really changing the way I shoot. I am not really using my RAW capture program anymore because the processor in here with those HEIC files, so good you don't really need it. So I'm really pleased with it. But give me your experiences. Have you shot with the new iPhone SE? What do you think? Or maybe you're thinking about it. Are you really just not convinced this is the case? Let me know down in the comments what you think. And again, make sure you're liking the video and make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you can see more great stuff like this. Anyway, appreciate you watching here at Logan Simmons Photography, and you have a good one. Bye-bye. Oh, hey guys, before you go, make sure you check down below because I have some video samples for the new iPhone SE, and I think you'll be really pleased with the results there, especially that 4K 60 frames per second video down there. Go ahead and check it out. I've got links down there, actually to a new little channel called Logan Simmons Photography Shorts, where you can do short videos. So check that out, and again, appreciate you watching. Have a good one. Bye-bye.